Everybody, welcome back to the Daddy Knows Best channel with a maybe not so happy video today. But of course, we're going to encourage and talk about what we can do to succeed and go forward. Men, women, and society, of course, everybody out there. But today, some sad news. Kevin Samuels has passed away at 56 years old. At first, some people were saying this was hearsay because it's kind of common or fairly common on Twitter for people to go for the clicks and go for the views and lie and create a scandal where somebody's passed away and they haven't. It's been confirmed by Kevin Samuels' mother, as well as a lady friend of Kevin Samuels who supposedly was there at the time of his passing, and we will certainly talk about that at the end of the video if there's any fishy business or anything suspicious in particular. So, Kevin Samuels, hate him or love him, he was no saint, but a lot of people made him out to be as just a grifter or just as somebody who really didn't add anything to humanity or really didn't do anything important. I don't know what kind of perspective y'all have or what kind of attitudes or perceptions you have, but Kevin Samuels did a lot for the world. He opened up a lot of people's eyes regarding the inequality regarding men and women. And if you want to actually help society move forward, if you actually want to see people happy, there needs to be a balance of things. There needs to be a give and take. And we see that very clearly in society. Men are the ones giving. And again, of course, some women are going to freak out and point towards some of the very successful rich men who are the actual leaders, the ones who have actually built up society. Yeah, some of them have old world money. We're not even getting into that. And the super bankers and those really high up, those people in the shadows and the darkness, we're not talking about them. We're talking about actually successful men who have made something of themselves, and the the millionaires who self-made millionaires every single year. There's quite a bit of them that happen in the United States and in the world as well. There's self-made millionaires all around the world, and this video isn't about money. It's about Kevin Samuels and his legacy. Not only did he encourage men to be successful, he started that approach, but then he started talking more towards women because women were more receptive. People pay attention more towards women and women's issues, and women were willing to, probably pay more for counseling and help and to understand, because it's so shocking to so many people, the things he said. But it's the kind of things that a lot of the times is basic information. A lot of the time it's something that's everybody should know, but we deny these basic biological things. Is the basic biological thing always the best or the most moral thing to do? Maybe not, but Kevin Samuels did a lot to, in regards to men and women's relationships. I encourage you to watch his videos and see what I'm talking about. Also, within the black community. I'm no authority on this subject, but there's a lot that needs to be discussed, and feminism has ingrained itself and attached itself and really got women to play up on this 304 culture, as they say, this attitude where you don't need no man, but you expect him to have 100 grand, 200, 300, be $1 million man to wait, where at the end of the race, whenever he's become a catch, whenever wait for the man to become a successful man, and by that time he's heartbroken multiple times, and he might have gone through a divorce. And why does he want to settle down with you, especially if you're not some 18, 19, 20-year-old sweet thing who's willing to work with him and have some fun or possibly build a family? And those are the big types of discussions that happen on the Kevin Samuels channel, because what women think is fair and what actually is fair is fair for men. Vastly different. There is a huge difference with what actually would be fair. All women have to do is show up, be pretty, and of course they'll complain about having to put on makeup and all that. But a lot of the times, the women don't have to do much of anything. A lot of them won the genetic lottery. and women are considered prettier than men, and also socially they're seen as the victim, and we can see it. It's going on with everything from OnlyFans to everything else, to Instagram. What makes Instagram continue to succeed is the people who are validating, clicking, upvoting, supporting the women. And the majority of it is men. And women get these inflated egos. And I don't want to distract too much from Kevin Samuels here today, but you know, if you do want marriages, and again, the only reason why Kevin Samuels was able to put himself out there, and people tried to cancel him twice, but the only way he actually got away with it again is because he supported marriage, as you know, and you might criticize him for not, not being currently married, and he died possibly with some young woman in his bed and all this kind of stuff, but he still supported marriage as the best thing for the kids, and the best thing really for a long-term relationship, and encouraged women to maybe want to work with men a little bit better or a little bit more, because these days men are seen as very expendable, and you want to move up on the up. You know, some of these women get their $100,000 man, $200,000, $300,000 man, and then she still wants to have fun on girls' night out. She still wants to, go to the parties. She still wants other men looking at her. She still wants maybe to move up and up, and thinks that, $1 million man ain't good enough. $1 million man ain't good enough for me. And they look for the next guy, the even more successful guy, and they're going to trade up. And this is the type of attitude we got going on, where, women are looking to build families, build culture, build civilization, and some of the times these women aren't even having children. It's bad enough, but they don't even want to give a good man who has succeeded, who has proven himself a leader and successful, and become an amazing man of character, of social status. Maybe he made an invention, a technology. Maybe he, again, a lot of these women think that you are Joe Broke if you're a plumber or electrician or a construction man, but those are good men. And Kevin Samuels also made a big point of that. And I hope that a lot of people pay attention to that, because those are good men that make things work. The plumbers and the electricians and the construction men and all these types of guys, and some of them aren't poor either. Some of them are making $75,000 or more, which, that's pretty darn good, especially compared to most of the world. There's a lot of people in the world who can't imagine what $75,000 a year looks like. They can't even imagine that kind of wealth. But there's women who are average looking. They're not even pretty. Average looking women. And they're going to sit here and tell you that, that man who might be average looking, sometimes they demand even more. Maybe he's a 6, 7, a fairly good looking man, fairly healthy. Maybe he's not even too much older than her. Maybe she's 25, 30. Maybe he's 35, 40 maybe. Or not that older, 30, 35, 5, 10 years older or so. That's still not good enough. Back then, a woman would be very happy to have something like that. That's the kind of exchange we got going on, or even more. Women would freak out these days, but what would be normal is actually considered even more biased. In the past, it might be more common. They've done studies today where they've estimated where it's most healthy that there's an 8-year difference. And in the past, it used to be 15, maybe even 20 years. You'd have a 40-year-old guy with a 20-year-old woman. These days, my goodness, you don't want to see what kind of reactions you'd get. And again, that's not best for everybody. That's not maybe the best thing, for everybody. But that does work, and it works for a reason, because the woman gets, for example, again, the 20-year-old woman gets what she wants, and the 40-year-old man gets what he wants in that exchange. But let's talk about the breaking news of Kevin Samuels, and give a little bit of respect to him. Again, I just wanted to talk about some of those big key issues that he brought up that was important for him to talk about. important that he, there's lots of things that he addressed and lots of things that he talked about, but the thing, those are some of the key issues and some of the things that really needs to be talked about. And again, the national news and most people aren't really talking about those types of things. They're not. I mean, they're not really talking about those types of issues on the the big scale, the major scale, publicly. Still, I mean, this is public. I mean, Kevin Samuels made a big dent in the world. He made big. He was a big deal. He had 1.43 million subscribers. I don't know how many total millions of views he got on his video, but he got. We'll look at the end here. I think he was estimated worth $4 million, which, I mean, that's not no poor man. And he was influential and considered very good looking for his age. And you can't really discredit him on those bases. Now, again, there's some really highly religious people who, don't care about, they want every single person to work and sweat and do hard physical labor. It's going to get real interesting here real soon with automation and artificial intelligence when, nobody has to work and there's going to be so much, food and things that you can't even imagine. It's going to be real interesting. But a lot of people, maybe you're going to have to reject all of that wealth and, universal, those universal living checks coming to you. Maybe you'll reject it. Maybe you won't, but I do believe in that principle. I do think people need to be responsible for themselves. And some people, again, try to criticize Kevin Samuels for not working in that sense. But there's an awful lot of people who are entertainers, a lot of people who are news anchors and news people and radio people and announcers, and there's a lot of work out there that's not beyond the physical. And I make that point because a lot of women don't understand the value of men's labor as well. What kind of work that men do out there. And a lot of women, again, there's some sentiment out there that men are just dumb and don't do, what they do isn't important. Men are the ones that keep society together. Men are the ones who really make society work. And if you want to blame everything on men, women aren't really accountable for anything. You also got to give credit for all the men to men. I mean, all the credit. If you're going to give men all the blame, you got to give men also all the credit. And even if you think that's fair, men, especially in a historical basis throughout history, really have done everything. Again, we constantly act like men are always attacking women and doing bad things to women. Yeah, there's some bad actors and some bad people, some bad seeds out there. But the majority of men are out here actually to help women, protect women. I mean, you have not only police forces, but you have family and friends and all kinds of men out there. Again, you can keep categorizing men as bad. And every man is a bad actor, but you're going to ostracize the good men. You're going to push men out. And I think that's one of the things with Kevin Samuels that he opened people's eyes on. Kevin Samuels was, again, another guy who wanted to get married, just like John Likas and some of these people. They wanted to get married. John Likas got married like 4 or 5 times, and even if you want to get married and you want to be the perfect man and you want to do everything that they suggest, some of you men out there consider yourself an ally or a male feminist, and you continue doing that. And even though you might not agree with everything that they say, you still think that men need to men need to accept some even more responsibility or some blame and be put down even more, or just transfer some of your wealth or your power to women and all this type of stuff. But you're going to push away the good man, or the good men who want to succeed. As they say, if a nation isn't for the young man, the nation is dead. That's a famous quote. I'm paraphrasing it. But if there isn't a way for men to succeed, especially young men, there's no real motivation, and the lifeblood and the energy and the will of a nation or a country or a place or a people, they're not going to survive for very long. And as much as, again, we're gonna get to some other points here real quick. But as much as, again, some of you dislike Kevin Samuels and think that he didn't do anything good, I mean, go watch his videos. I mean, what you people who don't think that Kevin Samuels was a good man or didn't do anything good or anything of value, what do you think about these women? What kind of people do you think these women are in these videos with Kevin Samuels, as he interviews them, and they have questions and really almost sometimes a debate about things? What do you think? You got to tell me. What do you think about these women? Anyways, let's jump to the next point. I wanted to address some of this talk on places like Reddit. Again, I bring up these things about people trying to discredit Kevin Samuels because people like Twitter, is as fast as somebody passes away who's famous, like Sean Connery, highly influential people who left a legacy, who impacted people's lives, they're ready to tear them down and discredit them, and not give a chance for anybody to maybe pay attention to them or look into what they've done in the past. So exactly, look, a bi woman healing. So she's definitely a bi woman, a quote-unquote ally, and with healing, she's probably into all the astrology and the crystals and all that. And she says, he's an old school, blankety blank. I can't even probably say that here on YouTube. And of course, these types of people give no explanation for what they think. So anyways, some people criticize and get really mad about him judging women on looks, but men are looking for looks, but women also judge themselves based on looks. And a lot of people act like women are victims regarding people judging them on their looks. It's real funny because women don't want to live in a reality where you aren't judged on your looks. If you were just treated like a man, a lot of you women would lose so much status and money and privilege, you couldn't even believe it. You wouldn't believe it. You can't imagine what it's like to be a man or to be treated like a man. And some of these, there have been some people who have, done some social experiments where when they changed their gender, or they dressed up like a man for a day, and some of these women can't believe it. People opening doors for them and giving them, free food and treating them really nicely and all these things. A lot of women actually are so detached from reality and so oblivious that they think that is how men are treated. They think that men are treated nice, and they think that there's a gentleman's club where, all these men are waiting to shake your hand and invite you into the men's business and hand you the world, and that you don't have to actually work for anything. That's how these women think how the reality is, and it's far from it. It's far from it. Absolutely. So anyways, I hope that you bring up awareness about Kevin Samuels, and talk about, you can talk about the good and the bad of Kevin Samuels if you'd like, but do acknowledge some of the good at least. And if you have daughters or sons, especially if you're doing the right thing and homeschooling your kids, I think he's at least recommended, if not required, studying at least a little bit. And I hope that there's people out there doing the right thing, getting their kids out of these public schools and then teaching them what the world is really like. Again, I mentioned it, that there's some people acting like it was fake news, that Kevin Samuels hadn't died, but I did find it interesting that they included some information. And he talks about how much he charged for consulting. I didn't know it was $10,000. I don't know if that's true. That's a lot of money. But he was going up 12% every year, and at $5,000, so he's getting like 5,500 maybe this year, maybe 6,000 this year, and that's just on YouTube ad revenue. That's really not that much. Again, a lot of people freak out about YouTube ad revenue. If you're actually successful, the YouTube ad revenue is it's very little, and it doesn't make you much, and there's so much more opportunity. A little bit of advertising money from YouTube it's not much. You know, they throw pennies your way, really, for the views you get and all that. So here we got it. It's official NBC News. I don't want to go over all the details. You can read it. His mom confirmed that he passed away. But again, in NBC News is going to highlight some of the more possibly controversial stuff he did about talking about women after 35. Yeah, you are what's left. And again, they put that here to discredit him and to cause outrage. If you are a woman after 35, and again, men viewing you in regards to looks is privilege. It's privilege. Of course, people you should judge people on their character and the quality of their honor. Even going back to the old days, most people don't think about honor. Most people think honor is a joke, but what kind of person you are, what kind of choices you've made. There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot more to people than just looks, but people tend to date. One of the biggest factors, or maybe the biggest factor, is attraction. And after 35, you have very limited options as a woman, and biologically speaking, you have very few years, if none, to have a healthy kid. And who's going to want to date you? A 45, 50-year-old man? Maybe. But again, some of these 35-year-old women, they don't want a man unless he's only 5 years older. That's funny that when they're younger, they know what gets them the advantage. And differences of ages, the 18, 19, 20-year-olds and such. They know that not only are they attracted to not only physically, but they know that they can get the wealth and the benefits of dating a 25, 30, 35-year-old man. But once women get older, they kind of want to settle in with somebody who maybe has a similar lifestyle to them, and they can kind of coast on, make it easy. They probably have already divorced a guy and possibly already has alimony, or maybe she wants to feel like she has a lot of comfort and possibly set up that alimony. And there are 50-year-old feminist women who divorce their husbands and go and live on cruises and stuff like that, and I'm not making that up either. So again, it's quite interesting, but they tried to discredit him, and I would expect no less from an irreputable, disingenuous and ridiculous something that calls themselves news as the NBC. So anyways, appearances are important. Appearances maybe are the most important thing, and shamelessly disgracing black women. These people are absolutely ridiculous, and they're liars. NBC, you're a liar. Kevin Samuels didn't make profit off of disgracing black women. There was debates and there were discussions about social issues that need to be addressed. And honestly, it's sometimes hard to watch Kevin Samuels, not because of Kevin Samuels. It's hard to watch it because of the black women who are so privileged. And again, you might say that they're a minority and they're the most oppressed people. Yeah, maybe they don't have it great in some ways, but in regards to men, and that comparing men to women, these women are so entitled, and they get so much, and it's amazing. And again, some people are trying to hold it against Kevin Samuels that he was 56 and unmarried, as if holding over somebody on top of them that they died unmarried means that you're unsuccessful in life, or that you're somehow messed up in life, or that you were just not a very good man if you died unmarried. you know, that's the old game, that one of the oldest game in the books. You don't want to die alone, don't you? You don't want to be alone when you die. It's like we all die alone, and women die alone. And you don't say that kind of stuff to feminist women who want to, you know, kill all men. You don't say to feminist women who want to kill all men and are targeting, baby boys for abortion, targeting the little unborn baby boys to abort them. You don't, and divorce it. You don't tell women when they divorce their men, you don't want to die alone, don't you? I mean, you tell young women even before college that they don't need no man, and to be out there and have fun and hot girl summer and all that. You don't ask them to, try to find a good man or develop their character or save themselves for a good man. So this isn't a game of marriage or not. But it's really funny that, of course, women still consider that a tool, a feather in their cap, something that they can hang over or hammer onto men, punish men with, marriage. And men are the ones that give marriage. Women are the ones who are privileged if they get married, not men. That's the thing that men control. Women control, childbearing. They control, they do control an awful lot of society. They control, it's unfair how there's too much privilege that even women have in that degree, but like they for money, they kind of extort men to have fun with them. That's their services they can provide. But a man, you don't see it as a privilege that men have to, work for half a year or entire year of their of savings and earnings to pay for a $10,000 plus ring these days. A wedding that can be 15, 20, sometimes as much as $50,000 or more. There's people who would laugh at the idea of a $50,000 wedding. To some people, that's cheap. There's women who would say no to your marriage proposal if you offer a $50,000 wedding. That's a joke to them. And men have to do all these things and set up all these things. And you're going to act like it's shameful if a man doesn't get married? No, 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 no. Historically and today, in regards to marriage, if a person dies single, if you're going to put shame onto anybody, it's the woman, because the man doesn't necessarily, have to be married. It's not a shame if he dies single, because he's still working, developing society. He's out there, he's teaching people skills and abilities, and he's building and creating things with his hands, and he's sharing his words and his knowledge and his wisdom. Well, I mean, sure, women can do a lot of that, but do women do that? Sure, there was religious women, if we look way in the past, like oracles and priestesses and stuff. But how many women out there, as they get into older age, again, women tend to want to quit working after 35 or so. Men work into their 60s and 70s in general. Women don't work that long. And throughout the whole time, women are getting all the benefits, and men are paying the taxes for those benefits. And then you want to act like it's a man's responsibility, or it's a shame upon him. Even in 2022, where marriage has little to no meaning, and where men can lose everything through divorce. This is why people are freaking out, and people like me and other people are starting to speak out about that, because men are expected to be traditional. Men have to live in this traditional mindset, and traditional principles have to apply them regarding, like religion and traditional families. But they don't apply to a woman. A woman, again, she can do anything and everything, but it's yes, girl, go queen, slay. and you have to be throwing all your money at them. You have to support them with whatever they want and whatever they're going to do. And if you ask questions, or maybe you don't want to, throw extra money at them, I mean, you're just a bad man. I find this absolutely ridiculous, and I knew that NBC would do something like this, and I shouldn't be amazed at this point, because they constantly do things like this. But it's the world we live in today. It's the world we live in today. And again, that's also a part of black culture, so apply that as you will. Again, women out here are, selling themselves on the street and being all ratchet and all that, and then they still want a good man who still wants to build up a family, somebody who's professional, somebody who has $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 or more. And these women who are street women, expect a man to want to wife them up and treat them like high class when they're street women. They're literally street women. I mean, I'm not saying that as an insult. I'm not saying that to take down on their character or anything, but that's literally what they are. They're literally selling themselves on the street and dressing up and they have, again, you shouldn't judge somebody just on tattoos, but it's one thing to have a couple of tattoos, but these people got tattoos from their forehead to their tippy toes. They got tattoos up and down all around. And there's a reason, because to make themselves unavailable for regular work, to be around kind of like regular people, and to stand out and to grab that attention, to know that they're in it for business. They'd sell themselves for the right price to you. That's literally what's going on. And if you address or talk about any of these types of things, and how it's incentivized for women to be single mothers and to kick the man out of the home. Again, they want to blame men for not being in the home, but they do it so they can get the man's money and the government money, and they don't treat anybody with respect. And the culture's so bad that there's some black men out there who agree with that and play along with that. At work one time, there was a guy there, and he thought it was real funny that he had I believe it was his sister, and she had kicked that guy out of the house, and because he wasn't bringing enough money in, because she had gotten a slightly better job, and he thought she thought that, I guess, he wasn't doing enough anymore, because he was making a little bit less money than she was. That's considered funny, and he was laughing about it. He thought it was I guess he thought that all women should do that. If you make more money than your man, or you're able to afford to do something better, you should just kick them out. But we have all these double standards, and you can't talk about them, you can't address them. So let's jump. I wanted to wrap this up here today, because some of y'all are watching my channel, and I've gotten comments. Oh, I've gotten comments already, and some of y'all already are like, "Oh, you're crazy, man, and you're crazy and dangerous." And I want to bring it up that with the things I talk about, they're not exaggerations. Look, this is the Sun. It's a newspaper. Women hear issues of these feminist men. And when it's a chant, and when a bunch of women are saying it, when it becomes a famous motto or saying to kill all men, it comes from somewhere. It stems from something. There's a reason why people are saying it, and there's a meaning behind it. This woman literally called to kill male babies, and for women to actually kill men on the streets. And she's not exaggerating. This is literally going on right now. But the news is going to criticize Kevin Samuels, and really, we just talked about him here with NBC. They're going to criticize, and they're going to try to take apart and discredit Kevin Samuels any way they can. And again, they tried to cancel him and kick him off YouTube twice. They got real close. But here, do you think NBC is going to talk about this? Do you think news agencies are going to talk about a woman like this? And again, maybe she's not the most popular, but there are lots of women out there who are popular, and they have these types of sentiments. She's had 200,000 views, and you'd be amazed how many likes some of these people get. And again, this would, I mean, if a man was doing this, this would be a hate crime. Especially if you lived in the UK. You would be in jail. You would be in jail in the UK and some of these places if you were to say something as belligerent about women as this woman has said about men. And a lot of, if you lived in a lot of big liberal cities, San Diego, California, New York City, and some of these places, if you said this, especially if you said it publicly, like you know, and you probably would be put in jail as well. Anyways, and they talk about how there's no men available. There's no good men available. Anyways, I wanted to wrap it up here with this last bit of information. Is that I think y'all need to start talking about men's rights. Again, I mentioned the fall of Rome and the fall of Rome. Men are being pushed out of society. They're being given the worst jobs. They're being given less social status, no matter how smart they are, how good they are, how talented they are. All of these big businesses and corporations, all of their HR, human resource departments are led by women who hire women and focus on quote-unquote minorities. Men are being pushed out of society. No matter how good of a person you are, no matter how nice you are. Again, I was an Eagle Scout. I had a great track record. And again, I was raised LDS and served a mission and all that. And even in the own LDS community, that doesn't get you very far. And the goodwill, and no matter how good you are, these people are still going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And the governments want it, and the lawyers want it. They're making money. They're going to continue making and extorting and squeezing money out of men. And again, y'all act like it's somehow ridiculous that we talk about, men becoming slaves. And feminists have said that they again want to do it. Some of them have, a smaller group of them. But the rest of the feminists didn't oppose them. The rest of the feminists never disagreed with them. They never made hit blog pieces and outrage article news, and they never did those kinds of things towards these people who are asking you to abort your male babies or to kill men on the streets, or that that men, we need to find ways to reproduce without men and stuff like this. There's no backlash from these news organizations or any of these feminists. All we see is usury and abuse constantly of men. So, again, in closing, when you see Kevin Samuels, when you see people talking about him, he wasn't perfect, but I encourage you to at least protect his good name and encourage men, especially when everybody's going to be talking about Kevin Samuels, encourage people to go to the source. Watch some of his videos and actually see what was going on. And again, Kevin Samuels sometimes was a little bit brash, might be considered pretty fairly rude or really rude to some people. Might consider him really insulting. But the women were just as rude to him as he was to them. And again, these types of attitudes, and he experiences disrespect from all kinds of women as well online, from Twitter and all these types of people. You don't think Kevin Samuels was shown disrespect? You don't think people weren't rude to Kevin Samuels? You don't think Kevin Samuels was given an attitude? I can't even go to a drive-through restaurant. I can't even go to McDonald's without getting an attitude half of the time from a woman. I don't even know her name. I didn't even say anything to her. And y'all know what I'm talking about. You men out there know what I'm talking about. You're like, I'd like the number two, and I like, I want like the my Coca-Cola. I'd like to make it a large, and they're like, and all this, and then they act like they can't hear you right, and then they, when you hand them your credit card or your money, they snap it out of your hand. I'm not making this stuff up. You men live it out there. You live it every day, and some of you men have it worse than I do. And women, I'm not against you. I think that marriages are people where they have long-term relationships are the healthiest way to go. I think that's best for, people's mental well-being and their health, and especially if people want to have a family. If we want to keep this society going, that's what we got to do. And there's a reason why governments, again, we talk about the governments and the lawyers, they don't like families. I mean, yeah, they're making a whole lot of money off people, the process, the usury of men, where men, they get married and then get to the divorce and take everything away from a man. They love that. But going forward with all these people like we see in Florida, where they don't want you to be able to raise your kids or influence your kids, and they don't want parental rights. They don't want kids raised in a strong household. And I'm not even talking about Christians or Christianity or anything like that. And again, this and what happened in Florida with that bill with parental rights, and very recently with the Supreme Court with them leaking, the private discussions and our processes of government. That was a violation. Somebody committed a big crime when they did that. But in regards to Roe versus Wade, this isn't a men versus women thing, and this isn't a Christian versus a gay thing or anything like that. That's not what these issues are about. That's not what they're about. But you'd have to have eyes to be open to see that, and you'd have to actually care about these issues to see any of that. Just like Kevin Samuels. He wasn't against women. In fact, he promoted marriage. And again, that's one of the only reasons he became so successful, and he was able to speak a little bit more open and bluntly. You really can't make and become that successful of an influential of a person on YouTube and not get kicked out, unless you are like Kevin Samuels. I don't even know if I can say it. I think y'all know what I'm talking about. You have to be of a certain demographic, and also you have to still promote marriage and some of these ideas out there that still ultimately lead men to be fleeced and robbed. And Kevin Samuels, was trying to, make his money, but also he's, hopefully bring people together, because again, I hope that y'all watch some of Kevin Samuels episodes. Some of y'all just don't get it. I mean, if you watch Kevin Samuels videos and maybe you're an older woman, or maybe you're not that pretty, or maybe you think that the world should be handed to you on a golden platter, maybe that could offend your self-image. Maybe that could offend your self-worth. Really, it's entitlement. But that could offend that perception and that lifestyle that you think that you can have or should have, or that you're entitled to. And that's really what some of these women get real mad about. And also these modern feminist type people, again, they kind of like it, but they also dislike it when you support marriage, because they still want men to be willing. They think that marriage is slavery. But on the other hand, they do like for men to be able to hand over their wealth and their power. And, for the women who do want to get married, they do like it that men are willing to give them anything and everything that they want. So again, women don't really speak out that much against the women getting married. I mean, of course, they talk about the pick-me's and some of those types of things. And they do go after traditional women. I mean, they do that for sure, but they don't really go after the benefits that women get from marriage. You know what I'm saying? They don't criticize the things that women get from marriage. I hope that I'm making sense to you, because women do get a lot from marriage, and they definitely benefit. So, anyways, I hope that you pay attention to some of these issues. I hope that you look and do some real research. If you happen to come across my video and you've never seen anything that quote unquote can be considered red pill, I'd encourage you to go out there and learn and find some of these people who are actually making good content and real content and talking about these types of issues where we actually want to help bring society together. Again, some of these people are what's considered MGTOW, and they think the only solution is for men to step away from society and men and women and just let it all burn to the ground, and until they actually acknowledge, what they've done wrong. And that's one way to go about it. But just like this, a lot of the quote-unquote conservatives or American people, really they were American, not really even conservatives. The quote-unquote silent majority of people in the past, it doesn't really, in my opinion, it doesn't really serve you to be silent. Until the women actually start using the government to do physical force upon you and physically target you and throw you out of your homes and steal your property and those kinds of things, and that could be headed towards us real quick with the Ministry of Truth from Joe Biden. Yeah. Oh yeah. That kind of stuff could be coming our real way. All you MGTOW men, all you people who don't get in line and support the feminist narrative, even Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels, somebody who supported marriage, who supported people coming together. Kevin Samuels, who supported black excellence, and he was a black man. And even Kevin Samuels was bad. Even Kevin Samuels was not good enough for these types of people. So I hope that you encourage, again, you watch and encourage other people to watch Kevin Samuels' content. And don't let Kevin Samuels be forgotten. Again, he might not be a hero. Some of y'all don't think he's a very good guy. But at least he did some work and some good to bring about the awareness and the injustices of modern marriage and modern relationships, and maybe how we could fix some of these issues. Because if we continue down the road we're going, more and more men are just going to separate from society. Women are just going to keep demanding more and more. Women are going to be hurt. Men are going to be hurt. Children are going to be hurt. And the people in power, the governments and the lawyers and the international bankers and all these people who are really pulling the strings to make America, black people, and everybody else unhappy. Those people are going to be the ones, laughing. Those are the people who are actually going to be, happy and in a better position than they've ever been, than they've ever had. And maybe we can fix this thing. Maybe we can't. We'll have to see. A lot of you women, if you wouldn't even work with somebody like Kevin Samuels, who understands you, who would come down to your level and break things down for you, and if you wouldn't even work with a man like that, who was successful, good looking, and of a quote-unquote minority status, what's good enough? If Kevin Samuels isn't a good enough man for you or your daughters or any woman, what kind of man is good enough? What kind of man is good enough? Some over 6 foot tall man, multi-million dollars, emotional, to you, but yet he goes out there and conquers the world. A man full of contradictions, and where he can change himself whenever you want him to change, and he can be weak when you want him to be weak, and you want him to be strong when you want him to be strong, and you don't communicate, and then you want him to I don't know, do you want him to give all of his money away to other women? And he's got to be loyal to you, but you can go out there and have your fun and cheat on him? Is that a good man for you women out there? And he's got to marry you when you're 30, 35 with 1 or 2 kids and you're a single mother? And he's got to be like a really good looking man, and you think you're a 10 out of 10, but you're not. I mean, you're not. And some of these women out there think they're 10 out of 10s, and not only are they not the best looking women, but they're unhealthy. They're very, very overweight. They're clinically overweight. I mean, it's bad for their health kind of situation. You don't dare talk about that. Oh, no. And if you do get that type of man who would be willing to accept all that type of thing and all that type of attitude, even if you were able to find that type of man, again, the 6-foot millionaire does everything every time, in every way you want it, you women out there would still want to trade up on him. You still be looking for the next best thing. You women out there would still be willing to, or not only willing, but some of you women act like that's what you should do. Look for the better man, trade up on him. No, I don't see any of you women guilty that you you steal men's houses and their cars and the dogs and the children and the personal possessions in the home, and then you take 50% of his the actual money he has in his bank and in his pocket. You women aren't guilty for doing that, and you think you deserve more. And throughout the whole marriage, he bought you all the gifts. He was paying for all the bills, the water, electricity, the housing, the rent, the property tax. He was paying for everything. And yeah, there's some homes in situations where it's more of like half and half, but the man still is paying more. The woman still finds a way to make the man pay a little bit more. And she still wants a man who makes a little bit more money than she does. And a lot of the times, some of those types of women act like they want those almost 50-50s, but eventually they see, the women, especially when they get older, some of these more attractive women who were willing to trade in early, when they were 18, 19, 20, for some of the really wealthy men, and some of these women get real unhappy. Life sometimes isn't fair. Life isn't perfect. But if you might not get that. I mean, I didn't get a lot of things that maybe I would want in life either. But you focus on the biological things like that, when you should be focusing on what you can do and what you can achieve and what kind of happiness you can have. And a lot of you women, even if you got one of those black men, or successful black men, especially if they're 6 foot tall and they look the way that you want them to, and they're like 10% of 1% of the population. I mean, they're rare. And again, you might say, oh, that they're more than 10% of 1%. They're like, a couple percentages and all that. And no. That's just for a successful black man. If you want him to be 6 foot tall or taller, if you want him to have 6 figures or better, and again, 100,000 ain't enough for most of these women. They want $200,000, $300,000, $1 million men, and you want them 6 foot tall. That's all. You're already almost there to like the single digits, depending on where you live and where you are, and then you want to be a black man. You're already at like 1%, and then he's got to look a certain way, and talk a certain way and do what you want him to say, and you might want a certain eye color on him, and this is why some of these female dating coaches are quitting. It's like, you'd be lucky to have a man who is half that good. You know, he's 6 foot tall. Maybe he's making 150, maybe he's personality-wise, he's not everything you want him to be. You'd still be lucky to get a guy like that. You'd be very lucky. That ain't good enough. Oh, that ain't good enough for most of these women. Anyways, that's the kind of world we live in. And I'm trying to help people. Hopefully this helps y'all out there. I hope you men know what you're up against. Because again, you could build yourself up, become a man of influence, a teacher, somebody who gets out there and tries to make a world a better place, like Kevin Samuels, and tries to build up people. And people are going to forget about you and not care about you. So life is short. Enjoy your life. Do the best you can. And don't be sacrificing your life for somebody else, or for somebody else's agendas, or the demands of somebody, or something like that. Don't be sacrificing your life because go through all these troubles because somebody said that they wanted something or demanded something of you when they aren't giving anything back, when they don't care about you, when you have to sacrifice and put everything on the line and they don't have to risk anything on the line, and they continue to take from you, continue to steal from you. And I hope that you let the world know about Kevin Samuels and what he did. Anyways, I'll stop this. I'll stop this discussion here today. This was a bit of a long one, but Kevin Samuels did mean something to me a little bit. He's not. I wouldn't call him my godfather and some of that, like some of these people do. But he wasn't, some huge inspiration for my life exactly. But I can see the value of what he did and the effort and the work he put in and the good that he did. If you don't think that Kevin Samuels did anything good for society, what do you think good for society is? I'll see you soon. Have a good one.